welcome to this week's episode of News for Normies, where I bring you the week's worth of news in a relatively short time frame. And this week is a doozy. We've got news, we've got politics, we've got conspiracy theories, a little bit of religion mixed in there. So if you like this stuff, hit that subscribe button. Help me get up to 100 subscribers on Rumble. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you might want to go check it out on Rumble. It's the same video I post on both platforms. But this one may not show up on YouTube or may get struck or something because, I got a lot to talk about. So, also follow me on all the social medias. I'll leave those in the description down below. And most importantly, share with your normie friends who are not engaged in the news, because those are the people that we are trying to reach. So, with that being said, let's get into the news. Now, I need to make a correction to last week's video. Last week, I talked about the big beautiful bill being passed, and in it, I incorrectly said that the SHORT Act was not in the bill. I have learned that it actually was in the bill, and the tax stamp for SBRs, SBSs, and AOWs, which are short barrel rifles, short barrel shotguns, and any other weapons. That tax stamp was also reduced to $0, just like suppressors were with the Hearing Protection Act. Now, a little bit of a development on that, though. Several gun rights groups, and to my surprise, the NRA, are suing the ATF over the NFA regulations on suppressors, SBRs, SBSs, AOWs, things like that, stating that the ATF no longer has standing to regulate those things because of the tax stamp being reduced to $0. To give a little bit of a history lesson, when the National Firearms Act was first signed into law, it was done so under the tax collection of the $200, which back then $200 was like $20,000 today or something. But now they're arguing that it is unconstitutional as there's no tax collected on it and therefore should be stricken down. So hopefully this ruling goes in favor of gun owners across the country. And if you want to get a little bit more of an in-depth details on this, I will link a video to the Armed Scholar down below. He's doing great work, very, very knowledgeable about this stuff. I am not affiliated with him, not sponsored, just like his content, and I think he's a treasure trove of information about all things gun rights here in the United States. So go check that out if you want to know more. Now, a little bit of an update on a previous topic I covered. Several weeks ago, a gunman tried to shoot up a church up in Michigan, and during that attack on the church, a church deacon used his own pickup truck to ram the gunman before armed security could respond and dispatch this would-be shooter. That church deacon, whose name is Richard Pryor, no, not that Richard Pryor, just happens to have the same name, was given a new F-150 this week from a local Ford dealership. As I said, Pryor prevented the gunman from entering the church while vacation Bible school was going on, so there was a lot of kids in there that could have been hurt. And because of his actions, he stopped the gunman, but also his truck was totaled. The shooting would have occurred at Cross Point Community Church in Wayne, Michigan, but thankfully armed security stopped him, as I said. And then in response to this, Demer Ford, a local Ford dealership that is located less than 2 miles from that church, gifted Pryor a brand new Ford F-150 for his heroism that day. So thank God for Deacon Richard Pryor being there to respond quickly. Thank God that the armed security were there as well. And kudos to Demer Ford, located near Wayne, Michigan, for also doing this for a hero at home. It is, things like that definitely make me feel good about this country. Now, things that don't make me feel good about this country are things like this. Uh, Joe Biden's doctor, Kevin O'Connor, was recently being asked about his service to the president, Joe Biden, and invoked the Fifth Amendment during some questioning, as you'll see here in this clip.
On the advice of counsel, I must respectfully decline to answer based on the physician-patient privilege and reliance on my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. I am not a lawyer, and I must follow my lawyer's advice in this matter.
So, gentlemen, we intend to assert both privileges with regard to any questions that would be asked at this deposition. And Dr. O'Connor will not answer any questions.
Now, while it is his right to not incriminate himself during a court proceeding, as the Fifth Amendment states, it also does look very suspicious that he would do so. You know, if the president was fine, why wouldn't you just say he was fine? You know, very weird. Oh boy, I didn't even realize this when I was making up these notes. We got a lot of news coming out of Texas this week. 9 Democrats were indicted in South Texas for a major vote harvesting scheme, including former Bexar County Democrat Chair Manuel Medina, ex-House candidate Cecilia Castellano, don't care, and 2 former city mayors were included as well. So, yeah, definitely weird, to say the least, and it almost adds to that meme that, you know, the conspiracy theories are always right 6 months later. So, yeah, definitely weird. And hopefully more stories like this come out to just show unequivocally how evil the Democrat Party is. Not that the Republican Party is full of saints and angels themselves, but yeah, we'll get more into the Democrats' evil later in this video. Now, this next one is also interesting because this happened, you know, just a couple days ago. 6 Secret Service agents, say that 5 times fast, were suspended over misconduct during the attempted assassination on Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania, a year ago. The suspensions came just days before the 1-year anniversary of the attempt on Trump's life, and those suspensions went from like 10 days to 42 days, I think is what I read. So, yeah, and also remember that the head of Secret Service at the time, she resigned right after this happened too. So, all kinds of weirdness. Also, it's still very odd that we know virtually nothing about the alleged shooter, Thomas Matthew Crooks, even though it happened a year ago and Trump has been in office again for, you know, almost 6 months now. We have nothing on this guy. It's also weird how he was able to take multiple shots at Trump that day. How he snuck a rifle into an event where the presidential candidate at the time was, who was also a very prominent figure and served as president 1 term before. You know, how security, he managed to slip through all the security detail that was there, how he managed to get on that roof, like, and then the aftermath of it, his body was cremated like the next day almost, and his home apparently was like completely scrubbed of any sign of people living there. It was, the whole thing is weird, and I think we need some answers on this as well. But moving on, this week has not been a good week for Trump, as he also said this week that they are going to be sending even more weapons to Ukraine, seemingly falling back on the Biden plan during the Ukraine war. And when a reporter from CNN asked him about this, Trump lost his cool a little bit by responding this way.
I'm not happy with what Putin's doing. He's killing a lot of people, and I don't know what the hell happened to Putin. I've known him a long time, always gotten along with him, but he's sending rockets into cities and killing people, and I don't like it at all, okay? We're in the middle of talking, and he's shooting rockets into Kiev and other cities. I don't like it at all.
President, what do you want to do about
And
that?
I'm surprised. I'm very surprised. We'll see what we're going to do. What am I going to tell you? You're the fake news, aren't you? You're totally fake. All right, any other questions? I don't like what Putin is doing, not even a little bit. He's killing people. And something happened to this guy, and I don't like it. That's all I have to say.
So yeah, even though Trump criticized Biden for doing virtually the same thing, he's going to go ahead and do it too. So thanks for, holding the promises of ending the war, on day one, even though we all know he likes to talk big. Nobody really expected that war to be ended by day one, but, still weird that he claimed he was going to end the war and now he's going to escalate it even more. Okay. Trump tariffs. We got more tariffs. And apparently they are all over the place again. Trump announced a 50% tariff on copper imports, causing copper futures prices to immediately skyrocket after this announcement. I know when the first round of tariffs was going on, all the people on the left are like, oh, this is only going to hurt the American consumer because they're going to pay the cost for it. We haven't really seen that yet, but, it takes time for these things to be implemented, so who knows? Also, this could be the same thing. Anything that uses electricity could have an increase in their price. Everything from, cell phones to home appliances to cars. So we'll see what happens here. I'll keep y'all updated as I find more information. And again, not the week for Trump. He was recently at an event, I believe in North Carolina, South Carolina, one of the Carolinas, where he endorsed Lindsey Graham again. And at this event, he was booed, as he should have been, as seen in this clip.
And again, Senator Lindsey Graham, who is really I'm going to have to work. I'm going to have to work on these people. I'm going to have to. All right. He's there. He's there when you need him. He's there when you need him. I'm going to get him straightened up. Do you mind if I come here and campaign a little bit for you? I'll tell you what. He was one of my earliest endorsements right from the go, and I appreciate it very much. I appreciate it, Lindsey.
So don't forget, this isn't the first time that Trump has endorsed Lindsey Graham, and he got booed last time. So to the voters in Lindsey Graham's constituency, we'll say, why do you continue to vote for Lady G? He is a shitbag. You know this. We all know this. Yet you keep picking him. Like, I get at one point it comes down if you want Republican or Democrat, but when it's somebody like Lindsey Graham who doesn't care and just wants more war, why is nobody else stepping up to the plate to run against him? I mean, we saw what happened with Brandon Herrera's campaign down in Texas when he ran against Tony Gonzalez. Gonzalez had to outspend Brandon Herrera like 10-1 and lost. Brandon Herrera lost that race by just over 400 votes. So if a guy on YouTube who makes funny gun content can nearly upset a sitting congressman like that, then somebody in the same state as Lindsey Graham can do the same thing. Why is nobody doing this? Definitely makes you wonder about the true intentions of the Republican Party too. Now I'm going to take a sip of coffee before getting to this next one. Very good timing here. Check out the Drinkin' Bros podcast merch store if you want to get some of that. Again, not affiliated, just like the sentiment. So, some good news, I guess, coming from the Trump administration. They are now set to ban China from buying or owning farmland here in the United States. U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins made this announcement on Tuesday and also said that she had terminated contracts and research arrangements between the Department of Agriculture and 70 scientists who are citizens from countries of concern, such as China. So again, this is a good first step. So once this happens, I think that all land owned by China or Chinese cutouts should be seized and sold back to Americans who can afford it. And who knows, maybe parts of that could help with our housing crisis, as you need land to build homes. So, more supply to meet the demand makes prices come down. Kind of simple economics there. But we will also see what happens there. Also, interestingly, and I didn't hear about this being covered at all on any of the news shows I listened to this week. Chinese nationals have been arrested in several countries for alleged espionage on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party. In the U.S., Yuance Chen, who was living in Happy Valley, Oregon, and Liren Lai, who was in Houston, Texas, were arrested for carrying out various clandestine intelligence tasks in the United States. Similarly, a 24-year-old Chinese man who was a former college student in Ukraine and his father were recently arrested in Ukraine for similar crimes. So, in my opinion, people really need to wake up about how dangerous the Chinese Communist Party really is, because these are just two examples of people being caught. So two examples that we know of this stuff happening. If two examples are being brought to light, how many more are happening that we don't know about? I think that is a bigger concern than whatever Russia is trying to do, because we've seen that they are a paper tiger. Now, I've also learned that Russia has a very good social media game, trying to influence people on social media to do stupid things or just get people riled up. So I think that is an area of concern. However, China owns a lot of land in the United States, and weirdly enough, a lot of it is near U.S. military bases. Why would you want to do that? Inquiring minds want to know. Alrighty. And because everybody loves talking about them, we got news about Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu visited D.C. again this week to talk with President Trump on a peace deal with Hamas. Now, Hamas wants a full stop to hostilities from Israel, but Netanyahu says that he wants the complete dismantling of Hamas's military and government. Wonder why? Now, on one hand, it makes sense that you would want the military that has been attacking you to be dismantled, but we also know that Israel has had an iron fist on the Gaza Strip for, many, many decades now. So it's like a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. Netanyahu also nominated Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize, as seen here.
The president has already realized great opportunities. He forged the Abraham Accords. He's forging peace as we speak, in one country, in one region after the other. So I want to present to you, Mr. President, the letter I sent to the Nobel Prize Committee. It's nominating you for the Peace Prize, which is well deserved, and you should get it.
Thank you very much. This I didn't know. Wow. Thank you very much. Coming from you in particular, this is very meaningful. Thank you very much, baby.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you.
So I kind of think that this is warranted, as I said in my last video, because Trump, basically brought Iran to heel. We haven't heard much out of them, except for the next little thing I'm going to talk about. But they've gotten real quiet all of a sudden. And also, like I said in the last video, Trump stopped India and Pakistan from going to war with one another, and a decades-long war between Rwanda and the Congo. So stopping wars is peaceful by nature, so that kind of makes sense to me. Yeah. But speaking of Iran, Tucker Carlson interviewed the president of Iran this week, and that was a very interesting interview. I would encourage you to go watch it. It's literally just shy of half an hour, so It's a real quick watch or listen. But in this interview, the Iranian president claims that he has never wanted a nuclear weapon, but I highly doubt that. Um, he also spent the whole interview blaming Israel and America for all their problems instead of admitting the faults of his own country and the ideology of Islam. Um, Now, I will say some of his complaints are valid, as both America and Israel do like forever wars. However, when your country is ran by a death cult, you got to take some responsibility for the people that want to constantly, go after people who they deem are infidels. Um, Finally, when Tucker Carlson asked him what he meant by death to America, this is what he had to say.
Many Americans are afraid of Iran. You say you're not afraid, but Americans are afraid of Iran. And they believe that Iran would like to strike the United States with a nuclear weapon. They see video of Iranians saying death to America, describing our country as the great Satan. What is your opinion of that? Should we be afraid of Iran?
I believe that this is a very wrong impression that anybody might have of Iran or the Iranians. I would like to remind you that Iran has never invaded another country in the last 200 years. When they say death to the United States, it doesn't mean death to, they don't mean death to the people of the United States or even to the officials of the United States. They mean death to crimes, death to killing and carnage, death to supporting killing others, death to insecurity and instability. This is. Have you ever heard that an Iranian killing an American? Have you ever heard that? Or a terrorist that was Iranian and he carried out a terrorist attack against the Americans? No, it was your president who confessed that the Americans created the ISIS in our region, and they were responsible for this wrong image that is portrayed of religion or the Muslims in the world. And once again, I would like to tell you and remind you that this is not death to the American people or to the officials, death to crimes and atrocities, to bullying, to the use of force, and anybody who would like to become an accomplice in the crimes perpetrated by others.
So, again, it's really funny that he changed his rhetoric on what death to America means after they just got hit by, stealth bombers from across the globe and didn't even know what happened until, the planes got back home. Also, he must have forgotten about the Iran-Iraq war and the countless times that Iran has fired upon American bases. So, take everything he says with a grain of salt. And until, actions prove otherwise, I'm going to believe that this guy is full of shit. Now, on to something serious yet funny at the same time. Grok, which is the AI that X has on their platform, went full Kanye this week after an update from XAI. The AI system started spitting out anti-Semitic slurs and even talked about a violent sexual abuse fantasy upon one guy. The developers at X quickly fixed this, but it is still crazy that this happened. I don't use Grok. The only AI thing I really use is Sora to make thumbnails now for these videos, but still, crazy, and I'm just gonna leave it there. I'm just gonna leave it there. Move on. Interestingly, the CEO of X, Linda Yaccarino, stepped down this week. And the timing of this was weird since she made this announcement. She was stepping down as CEO shortly after Grok went full Kanye. Are they connected? Don't know, but the timing is definitely weird. Hence, the tinfoil top hat. Now, some good news. An Ohio man named Christopher M. Calloway from West Farmington was, was sentenced to 50 years for sexually abusing children and possessing child porn. On top of his half-century sentence, he is also ordered to pay $40,000 to the Justice for Victims of Trafficking Act. Now, good on the justice system for catching this guy and putting him behind bars, but in my opinion, I think we should save taxpayers the money for keeping him in prison and just throw him into the ocean. People like that cannot be rehabilitated. It is a waste of our money to keep them in prison. Throw them into the ocean, right into the Mariana Trench with some cinder blocks tied around their feet. Don't care. Alrighty. This has been an interesting development over the week. So a leaked memo from the DOJ claims Jeffrey Epstein didn't blackmail people or create a client list. Also, they put out an 11-hour video from what they say is Jeffrey Epstein's jail cell. But as the video closes in on midnight, there's a jump cut with 1 minute missing, as you will see here. And from what I've learned, like I just said, this video clip isn't even from the area in the jail where Jeffrey Epstein was being held. Don't know how true that is, but this is a video that was put out, so that's what I have to run on right now. And don't forget, too, that before Kash Patel took the job at the FBI, he vehemently claimed that Epstein did not take his own life, as shown in this compilation here, warning some of the video or the images that are shown in this compilation are a little graphic, so you've been warned.
Did Jeffrey Epstein kill himself? Who killed Jeffrey Epstein?
This doesn't look right. It doesn't look like a suicide. And so the way, based on public information at the time, that he ended up put the pictures and him hanging himself, I was like, man, that guy killed himself.
What did you think before you got in office? Did you think that Epstein was murdered?
No.
No suspicion at all of it?
This doesn't look right. It doesn't look like a suicide. But I have a different background, right?
Right.
So I was a public defender back in the day. When you're in that kind of confinement, we call it solitary confinement, you're not supposed to have these things that you are able to hang yourself with. That's the whole point of the strict rules in there. You're not supposed to have 6 feet of cloth that you can dangle from the ceiling so you can hang yourself. This is prison 101. I used to spend a lot of time in jails and a lot of time in segregated housing units, SHUs as we call them, right? So I've spent a lot of time in federal detention facilities as a public defender before, talking to my clients, so I kind of know how those work. And I know how you get in, how you get out, who works the system. He was in isolation. He was in a unit where he's in there not just to protect himself, but he's in there to protect the rest of the prison population because he was such a high profile case. And so, and I've known people that have committed suicide in these cells. In these units, there's supposed to be 24/7 guard duty on him directly. There's just no way that you could have run an op. The guard fell asleep. Now, I don't really buy that, but it's almost impossible to prove otherwise unless you can obtain the videotape. Well, it's hard to surmise that from a video. And usually there isn't video looking into people's cells for a lot of reasons. And had people go into that cell and not have any video of it and not have any people come out and say, hey, yeah, I saw that guy. He shouldn't have been there, the guard or this guy.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but what I was told, what I'd read, was that the guards were not paying attention or were sleeping.
The guard fell asleep. Now, I don't really buy that. Well, it's hard to surmise that from a video, right? Like,
right.
Where they and look, do guards doze off on the night shift? Yeah.
What did you think before you got in office? Did you think that Epstein was murdered?
No.
Shout out to Kyle Seraphin on X for posting this video. That's who I got this one from. And it is exactly what I was looking for when I wanted to bring this up. So this really stinks of a cover-up, and the FBI isn't making themselves look any better. At this point, though, I highly doubt that we will ever get answers about the Epstein client list, as people who were being blackmailed don't want it put out there that they were flying to an island and doing horrible things to kids. Because if that happens, many prominent people from governments across the globe, our own entertainment industry, and even well-known religious figures would go down for the horrific things they've done. And I say that because, how many times have we heard of a pastor somewhere who always rails about, the gays are pedophiles and they're trying to go after your children, and then turns out he was also himself grooming kids from the youth group within his church to do things, or they get caught in a seedy motel smoking meth and having sex with male prostitutes. So you can find a number of those stories on the internet, and it wouldn't surprise me if some mega church pastors are also included on this list. Speaking of, shout out to The Religion Business. The documentary is out now. I have not watched it yet. However, I'm looking forward to it. And I would encourage everybody to go find that and watch it yourself, because it is going to touch on a lot of dirty things that mega churches do. Because of the whole Epstein thing now, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are threatening to quit their jobs with the FBI over the botched Epstein information release. So to answer President Trump's former question, this is why we keep talking about Jeffrey Epstein. It is blatantly clear that his evil deeds are being covered up by your administration, and people have a right to know just how evil he and his friends are. And finally, on the Epstein stuff, the FBI has closed their investigation into Prince Andrew over his connections with Jeffrey Epstein, which is weird. And it's strange because Andrew has been seen in pictures with Ghislaine Maxwell and Virginia Giuffre, the woman who accused Prince Andrew of sexually assaulting her. And she also died by suicide about a year ago. Weird. Real weird. All the timing of that's real weird. Now, the FBI is launching an investigation into John Brennan and James Comey over the Russia collusion hoax. So, good on them for doing that. However, it seems like the FBI is trying to kind of skirt past the whole Epstein thing and make the Bureau look better. So, in my opinion, the only way that they can do that is if they just release all the names on that Epstein list and let the cards fall where they may. Now, some kind of sad and real bad news. ICE conducted massive raids in LA this past week to the point where traffic conditions among the city have been alleviated greatly. However, Mayor Karen Bass wasn't having it and even confronted ICE agents in the street, as seen here.
I am going to say,
Mayor Bass, I need to get my phone and we're departing.
Okay. All right. Mayor Bass.
Mayor Bass.
Any comment,
Mayor Bass?
Thank you.
Mayor Bass, any comment?
Yes, my comment is they need to leave, and they need to leave right now. They need to leave because this is unacceptable.
Who did you speak with?
Just wait and see.
Mayor Bass,
They will be leaving soon.
Mayor Bass, who did you speak with on the phone just now? Who did you speak with on the phone?
The head of customs.
Wow.
So, again, why do people keep voting for Democrats? Well, probably because the Democrats let them come in illegally, and then they get, government IDs somehow, and then they somehow get registered voters, and there you go. All right. Now, moving back to Texas here, BORTAC agents were ambushed in McAllen, Texas, but they shot and killed the would-be shooter. I believe a couple of them were injured in this, but the guy was taken out quickly. And just a side note, don't shoot at law enforcement, but if you're going to, don't shoot at BORTAC, because they are literally the tactical unit with Border Patrol. And if we remember, when the Uvalde shooting happened, the local police there failed to do their jobs, and the guy that took out the shooter in that school was a BORTAC guy. So they are essentially like the special forces of Border Patrol. Again, don't shoot at any law enforcement, but really don't shoot at BORTAC because you will get smoked. Another idiot shot at ICE agents in Alvarado, Texas, and one agent was shot in the neck. Thankfully, he was taken to the hospital and should be fine after he recovers, so thank God he was not killed. 11 more people were arrested for coordination with the shooter there at the Alvarado, Texas shooting. But one man by the name of Benjamin Hanil Song is wanted by the FBI for this shooting. Song is a former U.S. Marine Corps reservist. He is on the run. The FBI said he's likely armed and dangerous, and they are now offering a $50,000 reward for turning this guy in. So if you see him, report to the FBI, and I would not try to engage because he's taking shots at law enforcement. You, as an individual, probably not going to stand up to something like that. Moving on. Again, just crazy this is all happening at once. An anti-ICE terrorist fired on ICE agents on Thursday evening in Southern California as they were conducting another raid on illegal aliens at a cannabis farm. One person has been arrested so far after ICE, National Guard, and local law enforcement were there because things broke out into chaos pretty quickly. So, yeah. Again, like I've said before, when people want to say that, white supremacy is the biggest threat to America now, and, the right's the ultra-violent ones, when was the last time you saw, right-wing people doing stuff like this? And then people immediately point to January 6th. Okay, things got chaotic. Only a small percentage of people got violent that day, and the only person that died that day was actually shot by police. So, again, you can't keep making the argument that the right are the violent ones when the left are the ones going out and actually shooting at people. Especially with this next story. A home in Seattle was targeted by in a drive-by shooting for having pro-Trump, pro-police flags and a Confederate flag on the property. The homeowner's car was vandalized with pride flag stickers as well. So again, this is the party of love and tolerance for you, but it's also ironic to have these types of flags all lumped together. I completely disagree with conducting a drive-by shooting for any reason because you could hit literally anybody, children, elderly people, one of the rules of gun safety, know your target and what's beyond it. Drive-by shooting, you don't know what's even behind the wall. So you could take out innocent people. Innocent, anybody in a drive-by is really innocent because they're not actively shooting at somebody first, but still. But I would also say that if you're going to have flags flying on your property, pick a side. Having pro-Trump, pro-police stuff and Confederate flags is very mixed messaging. And it's also weird that a guy in Seattle, Washington had a Confederate flag considering that it's geographically north and that Washington state wasn't even a state during the Civil War. So pick a message, I guess, guy, but also don't do drive-by shootings. What are we doing here? Yeah, so speaking of shootings, Philadelphia had a fun weekend during the 4th of July, as seen here. And Chicago also saw over 50 people shot and 8 people killed over the 4th of July weekend. So it's almost as if Democrat leadership in America's largest cities isn't working at this point. Again, why do you keep voting for politicians that keep allowing this kind of stuff to happen? That's why I like Ohio. Very Republican for the most part. We have castle doctrine and stand your ground laws. And despite the rhetoric that came from, Democrats, oh, this is just going to allow blood to run in the streets, violent crime has actually gone down since, stand your ground laws and permitless carry laws were passed in Ohio. So if you want to trust the science, there's your data. Now, finally, ending on some sad news. I'm sure everybody at this point has heard about the floods that happened down in Texas. And sadly, 100 people have been killed, with many more still missing. Some point blame to weather services in the area for not warning people early enough. However, I've heard that has been disputed because weather services have had more people than actually needed. And, people get cell phone warnings when dangerous weather comes in. I know here in Ohio, we get tornado warnings, severe storm warnings all the time, or not all the time, but when those things happen. So, I'm sure that those things happen there as well. Also, the storms rolled in the middle of the night. So if people are very deep sleepers, they may not even hear the phones go off. I'm a very deep sleeper. And when an Amber Alert or, a tornado warning goes off in the middle of the night, and the phone's right next to my head, I don't hear it. I'm just a deep sleeper. However, despite the chaos, one member of the Coast Guard named Scott Ruskin saved over 160 people and talked about his mission there, seen in this clip here.
Had you ever done this before?
No, this is my first one. I haven't had any cases before. I've been a rescue swimmer for about a year, fully trained for about 6 months. So yeah, this is my first experience, but I really just kind of relied on the training we get. Coast Guard rescue swimmers get some of the highest level training in the world. So really just kind of relied on that, and that, just knowing that any of the rescue swimmers in the Coast Guard would have done the exact same, if not better than me. So
training is one thing, but this was the real deal.
Yeah, this is definitely the real deal, but I just remembered that, when I got on scene, there was, 200 kids looking to someone for some sort of comfort and safety. They don't really know what my experience is or my rank or my age. They just know, hey, this guy's a professional and he's here to help us, and I kind of had to live up to that standard. But yeah, the real heroes, I think, were the kids on the ground. Like, those guys are heroic, and, they were dealing with some of the worst times of their lives, and they were staying strong, and that helped inspire me to kind of get in there and help them out.
Well, you sure stayed strong as well. Thank you for joining us this morning. Congratulations on a job well done.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a lot more on the Texas flooding disaster coming up.
Thank goodness.
As well as Scott Ruskin, sadly, a man named Julian Ryan died after punching out a window to save his family. Sadly, he suffered a severe laceration to his arm and bled out before he could be saved. So here's a picture of him here. Just want to, acknowledge the heroes when they do something good. So just a bit of a tip: if you have to break a window to save people, do not punch it with your fist. If you can, use a heavy object to throw through the window. Do not hit it with your fist, because this could very likely happen. Obviously, it depends on what's around you, what you have at the time, how quickly you need to get people out. Just, if you don't punch windows, you can get seriously hurt or die. Now, in true Democrat fashion, leftists like Rosie O'Donnell blame Trump and MAGA voters for the storms, seen here.
And what a horror story in Texas. The flash floods in Texas, the Guadalupe River. 51 missing, 51 dead, more missing. Children at a camp. And when the president guts all of the early warning systems and the weathering forecast abilities of the government, these are the results that we're going to start to see on a daily basis, because he's put this country in so much danger by his horrible, horrible decisions and this ridiculously immoral bill that he just signed into law. As Republicans cheered as Republicans cheered. People will die as a result, and they've started already. Shame on him. Shame on every GOP sycophant who's listening and following the disastrous decisions of this mentally incapacitated POTUS. Hard to believe.
And again, it's wild how people on the left can't have empathy for anybody, except illegal immigrants, apparently. Now, I've also heard about a conspiracy theory claiming that cloud seeding is to blame for these storms. Apparently, shortly before the storms happened, there was some cloud seeding going on in that area. And if you don't know what cloud seeding is, the short version is it is a way to cause water in clouds to get heavier and then fall, causing rain. In my opinion, this is just my wild guess, the rain from the cloud seeding could have caused the soil to be saturated before the storms, and therefore not allowing, the soil to absorb the water and thus just run completely off. But also, when a tropical storm like the one that hit there dumps trillions of gallons of water in one area in a very short time frame, nothing could really prevent the flash floods from occurring. So, I know that there are several groups that are getting supplies down to Texas. I will be going through my own closet here soon to donate some clothes and things like that. I would encourage anybody who can to do so as well to help out the people down there. And with that, we have come to the end of this episode. Sorry to leave it on a bit of a sad note, but that's the news for you. So again, if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe, help me get to 100 subscribers on Rumble to get into that creator program. And if you've made it this far into YouTube, thank you. Again, I would recommend going to Rumble because they are less about censorship over there. Follow me on the other social medias and take care of yourselves. I will see you all next week. Thank you.